Gatsby.
Was he a friend of yours?
He was the single most hopeful person I've ever met, and I'm ever likely to meet again.
Who's the most hopeful person you know? What is it about them that makes them so hopeful? Well, join us on our latest Cinephile episode to find out, and be sure to visit our FUNDAY website for more. What's up, movie fans? I'm Wade, your Cinephile host. The Great Gatsby is a 2013 American historical romantic drama film based on F. Scott Fitzgerald's 1925 novel of the same name, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, Carey Mulligan, amongst other few A-list actors. The film follows the life and time of millionaire Jay Gatsby and his neighbor Nick Carraway, who recounts his encounter with Gatsby at the height of the Roaring Twenties on Long Island in New York.
In December 1929, World War I veteran Nick Carraway, undergoing treatment at a psychiatric hospital, tells his doctor about Jay Gatsby. The doctor suggests Nick tap into his passion and write down his thoughts, and Nick begins cataloging the events to his doctor. 7 years earlier, in the summer of 1922, Nick moved from the Midwest to New York after abandoning writing. He rents a small groundskeeper's cottage in the North Shore village of West Egg, next to the mansion of Gatsby, a mysterious business magnate who often hosts extravagant parties. Nick has dinner with his beautiful cousin Daisy Buchanan and her domineering husband, Tom, at their mansion in East Egg.
Daisy Buchanan, the golden girl. A breathless warmth flowed from her. Promise that there was no one else in the world she so wanted to see.
Do they miss me in Chicago?
Yes, at least a dozen people send their love.
How gorgeous.
They're absolutely in mourning. They're crying.
No,
yes, they're wailing.
I
They're
don't
screaming.
believe you.
They're shouting, Daisy Buchanan, we can't live without you.
I'm paralyzed with happiness.
Whoa! Whoa!
Daisy plays matchmaker between Nick and another guest, Jordan Baker, a famous golfer. They grab dinner and catch up. When Nick returns home, he sees a figure that he assumes is Gatsby standing by the harbor, reaching toward a green light coming from the Buchanan's dock. The next day, Tom brings Nick to the Valley of Ashes, an industrial dumping site between West Egg and the city, to pick up his mistress, Martha Wilson, at a garage owned by her husband George. Nick is forced to party and gets drunk with them. Nick then recounts the day he received an invitation to one of Gatsby's glamorous, extravagant parties. There, Nick encounters Jordan and wanders around looking for Gatsby. After partying around and drinking a whole lot, he finally meets the infamous Gatsby.
I'm Gatsby.
His smile was one of those rare smiles that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. It seemed to understand you and believe in you, just as you would like to be understood and believed in.
Sorry, old sport, I thought you knew.
Please, just, I don't know what to say. Please forgive me.
It's quite all right.
I've had so much to drink.
Yeah.
As the night ends, Jordan learns of a secret of Gatsby's and tells Nick it all makes sense now. Leaving Nick confused as he bids Gatsby goodnight, Gatsby wishes to make a request of Nick. So one day, he takes Nick out to lunch in Manhattan. On the way there, Gatsby tells him that he is an Oxford graduate and war hero from a wealthy Midwestern family. They end up at a secret speakeasy bar where Gatsby introduces Nick to his business partner, Mayor Wolfsham. Mr. Wolfsham affirms Gatsby's claims and reassures Nick that he is who he says he is. Confused by the gesture, Nick confronts Jordan to figure it out.
What kind of game are you and Gatsby playing at?
The gentleman will be
Excuse
joining.
me, one moment.
Nick, please,
Well, it's all
would you
rather
sit
strange.
down?
He picks me up in his fancy yellow car, and he's going on and
Please
on about
keep
his
your
life
voice
and the
down.
war and...
People can hear you.
What is this enormous request,
He
Jordan?
wants you to
Please just
invite
tell-
Daisy to tea.
Daisy. And Gatsby.
Jordan tells Nick how Gatsby, a captain of the US Army, started a relationship with Daisy in 1917 before the US entered World War I. But years later, when he left for war, Daisy ended up meeting and marrying Tom. Though she still loved Gatsby, when Gatsby had returned, he purchased the house right opposite to Daisy because he is still in love with her. He throws these parties hoping that she might one day wander in. Everything he has done is all for her.
It finally all made sense. Gatsby, after all these years, still hopelessly in love, is trying to win back Daisy, doing everything it takes to impress her. Quite the romantic gesture. Well, at first, Nick was unsure about carrying out this request, but after seeing Gatsby's sincerity, Nick agrees to it. The day came when Gatsby finally gets to meet Daisy again, and he anxiously awaits, and then, there she was.
I'm certainly glad to see you again.
I'm certainly glad to see you as well.
It's an awkward reunion at first. Neither of them knew what to say, but very soon their old flame ignites once more. Gatsby invites Daisy and Nick to his place, and they are entertained by all the glamour of the mansion. Soon an affair begins. One night at one of Gatsby's parties, Daisy says she wants to run away with him, but Gatsby tells her she needs to tell Tom, preferring that she gets a proper divorce so that they can officially be together. Gatsby is then called away for business, and later he recounts their love story to Nick, that it was love at first sight, and that before they took their first kiss, he waited.
I waited for a moment longer. He knew his mind would never again be free to romp like the mind of God. That falling in love would change his destiny forever. And I just let myself go.
He continues telling Nick that his life can only go upward and that marrying Daisy would be that next step. After some time, Gatsby asks Nick and Jordan to accompany him to the Buchanan home, where he and Daisy plan to tell Tom that Daisy is leaving him. During the luncheon, Tom becomes suspicious of Gatsby and Daisy, but Daisy stops Gatsby from revealing anything to Tom and suggests they all go to the Plaza Hotel. Tom drives Nick and Jordan in Gatsby's car while Gatsby drives Daisy in Tom's car. Tom stops for gas at Wilson's garage, where Wilson tells him that he and Myrtle are moving and that he suspects Myrtle is unfaithful.
My wife and I, we want to go west.
Well, your wife does.
Tom was feeling the hot whips of panic. His mistress and wife an hour ago, so secure, were both slipping from his control.
At the plaza, Gatsby tells Tom of his affair with Daisy. Tom accuses Gatsby of having never attended Oxford and having made his fortune through bootlegging with mobsters. Eventually, both Gatsby and Daisy leave. After fighting with Wilson over her infidelity, Myrtle runs into the street and is fatally struck by Gatsby's car after mistaking it for Tom's. Upon learning about Myrtle's death, Tom tells Wilson that the car belongs to Gatsby and that he suspects Gatsby was Myrtle's lover. Later, Nick finds Gatsby out by the Buchanan's home and realizes that Daisy was driving when the accident happened. Nick then overhears Daisy accepting Tom's promise to take care of everything.
I should have told him what I had just seen, but All I could manage was... You know, Jay, with everything that's happened, you ought to go away. Tonight, they'll trace your car.
Go away. No, can't leave now. Not tonight.
Jay, do you understand that a woman has been killed?
Daisy's going to call in the morning. Then we'll make plans to go away together.
Gatsby admits everything to Nick, that he was born penniless. His real name is James Gatz, and he had asked Daisy to wait for him until he had made something of himself after the war. Instead, she married Tom 7 months after the war ended. As morning came, Nick bid Gatsby farewell, and Gatsby takes a swim as he continues, waiting for Daisy's phone call. The phone rings, and a servant answers it. Believing the caller to be Daisy, Gatsby is delighted, but out of nowhere, Gatsby is shot by a vengeful Wilson, who then commits suicide. Nick, who was the one calling, hears the gunshots and is the only person other than reporters to attend Gatsby's funeral as Daisy, Tom, and their daughter flee New York. The media falsely and negatively paints Gatsby as Marlowe's lover and killer, infuriating Nick. Disgusted with both the city and its inhabitants, Nick decides to leave. He takes a final walk through Gatsby's deserted mansion.
I remembered how we had all come to Gatsby's and guessed at his corruption, while he stood before us, concealing an incorruptible dream.
It's perfect. From your perfect, irresistible imagination.
In reflecting on Gatsby's ability to hope like no one he's ever met or likely to meet again, in the final sanatorium, Nick finishes typing his memoir and titles it The Great Gatsby.
A tragic ending that reveals so much about each character. The film was highly polarizing among critics. It received both praise and criticism for its acting performance, soundtrack, visual style, direction, and faithfulness to the source material. Personally, having read the book in high school, I enjoyed seeing all the visuals that were brought to life by director Baz Luhrmann. Well, how about you? 接下来，如果要揭晓今天电影迷大亨小传 The Great Gatsby 要教我们些什么 Hey Ruby, are you a romantic like Gatsby was in this movie?
I wouldn't say so, but I do wish I'm as hopeful as he was.
You mean to give people hope?
No, I mean to have hope, 永远保持着希望.
Oh yeah, like Gatsby was always hopeful he'd marry Daisy someday.
Yes. Okay, here's a small test. Do you know how to say 他对比赛结果充满希望?
That's easy. He's hopeful about the outcome of the competition.
Yes, or you could say he is hopeful of winning the competition.
The word hopeful can also be used as a noun, right?
That is correct. In that case, it's referring to 希望成名的人.
Ah, like me. I wish to become a star someday.
For real? That's cool.
Yes, old sport. I'd like to be as hopeful and respectable gentleman like Gatsby had portrayed in this movie.
Nice.
Well, I'm Wade.
I'm Ruby.
I hope you've learned something useful in this episode of Cinephile as I did. You can find more on our FUNDAY website.
Let's make every day a fun day.
Have you got everything you need?
Perhaps more flowers.
I think they did a fine job, don't you?
Beautiful.
You think it's too much?
I think it's what you want.
I think so too.